Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Search still on for missing Acting Deputy Commissioner of Corrections, Reverend Orville Moore. JTA President responds to critics about the widespread teacher salary issue. And later in sports, Cavaliers secures win while Mount Pleasant and Arnett draw in JPL first leg semi-final. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. The Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, says more than 1,000 teachers have been affected by the anomalies in their salary. JTA President LaSonia Harrison made the revelation in response to claims that only a few teachers were having issues. She was speaking on Power 106's Morning Agenda earlier today.
We're not mad people.
That assertion from JTA President LaSonia Harrison to criticisms that the teacher salary issue is not widespread. The JTA has also been chastised for holding the country's education system at ransom after a two-day strike last week. But the JTA president has dismissed that claim. She says the issues are real and must be addressed with a matter of urgency.
Something is wrong with the formulas used. The calculations need to be redone. And that is all the teachers have been asking. And we have written several letters to our honorable leaders, and they have turned a deaf ear to those requests. The General Council met and said this cannot continue, and so we had a line of activities right to the Ministry of Labour, hold a press conference outlining the very same thing I'm talking about now, and if no response, which continued through the letters, then we take industrial action. The teachers are not unreasonable.
Mrs. Harrison says the issues vary from graduate allowance, calculation of remote inducement allowances, and the non-activation of the maternity and paternity leave facilities is also another area of concern.
I have a list of teachers coming in from one particular parish of persons who would have applied for this facility, and they have been told they can't. One teacher yesterday told me he applied for his paternity leave, and he was being denied same by the Ministry of Education.
Last week, the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, declared that the JTA was more eager to discuss the issues with the media rather than the ministry. The JTA president has hit back.
I'm not quite sure in sending formal letters to the Honourable Minister how it is that communication has not been done by the association. I'm really still trying to wrap my head around saying in a country where it is that I do believe we still have standards, and these were the methods of communication used in terms of establishing official complaints. You put them in writing as far as I know, and then you seek to have an official meeting to treat with same.
In the meantime, she says teachers are awaiting the outcome of a meeting with the finance minister today to determine what's their next move.
I'm not sure if they're at a peaceful state, but they understand the process, and we have asked them to pause registering their displeasure, and we are going back to the table to have a discussion, a much needed one.
More details are emerging about the circumstances leading to the murder of a policeman in Manchester last night. It's alleged that he was killed by his wife. TVJ News understands the couple had a history of domestic disputes. Shamala Pullen reports.
When our news team revisited the Desmond Mackenzie Close, formerly Guava Walk in Manchester Thursday morning, scene of crime and CIB detectives were busy processing the scene where a policeman was killed Monday evening. The once peaceful community is now tense following the incident. The deceased has been identified as 41-year-old Constable Damian Blair. According to reports, Constable Blair was in a dispute with his wife when he was killed. The constable was found with gunshot wounds. He also has wounds to the face. His wife was found inside the house with a split wrist. Residents reported hearing gunshots sometime after 6 and called the police.
Too much times. We always have the situation where the police come through and try to mediate the situation. Quarreling always go on, arguments always go on. So this is not the first or the second time actually. But as I say, just one of them incidents that were threw off the community and kind of threw off the moral of the thing.
Alright, so this long-standing thing now, this is the climax of it.
This is the climax. That is right, because we always see an issue where the man and his wife would normally have them look a quarrel and reboots and whatever. But at the end of the day, as I said, this is a wicked one. Up in the hills, Mandeville, as you know it, quiet as I say, is a farming community. So even right now with this little incident, it kind of throw it back. We have a lot of residents coming in, moving in place, building up. So this kind of go put the community on a little standstill, you know.
Oh, so this is one of those cases because they were not originally both of them from here. Right. How long were they living here?
About from late 2000s, anytime after 2007, 2008, 2009, so around 13, 14 years.
I know Blair as a quiet person in this community. This community is a very quiet community. And it came to most of the community as a shock in his passing. Because this is not something which had ever been expected by the citizen, or in the manner in which the community have heard that his demise had come.
The constable's wife, who is the main suspect, remains in hospital. Constable Blair would have celebrated his birthday on June 6. Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
The acting Deputy Commissioner of Corrections, Reverend Orville Moore, has been reported missing. The Department of Correctional Services says Reverend Moore was last seen on Monday morning, leaving a relative's home off Malines Road in St. Andrew. He was scheduled to attend a meeting on that day, but did not turn up. Efforts to reach him have been unsuccessful. Reverend Moore drives a silver Fortuner with the license plate 1626JN. Just last week, he was appointed Interim Deputy Commissioner. Before that, he was the Chief Rehabilitation and Probation Aftercare Officer. Anyone knowing of his whereabouts can contact the police at 119 or the Department of Correctional Service at 876-922-0021. The Custos of Manchester, Garfield Green, says the nation's youth are calling out for help. He's urging more parents to pay closer attention to their children.
You may be surprised to know how many of our youth are out of school today. Bullying is one of the reasons. I know of a case right now that you're working with where a young man is not in school because he's been bullied. We have another case where a young man and his sister not in school because the parents are just not there to guide them along the right way.
The Custos says his office recently established a Beliefs, Values, Attitudes BVA program to help address some of the challenges being faced by the youth.
We are all leaders. Our teachers are leaders, our principals are leaders, our parents and all of us are leaders. Let us get together and save our youth. We need them to continue building on this nation. We need them to take this nation further. And if we send them home without any care, I say it all the time, people cry out for help in many ways. So when you see a child misbehaving in school, carrying a knife or using expletives, that child is saying to you, I need help.
He says the nation cannot continue to leave its children in the wilderness. Custos Green was speaking at the recent launch of a fundraising event for the renal unit of the Mandeville Regional Hospital. And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us, more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Economist Dr. Andre Horton is calling on the government to enact legislation for financial institutions to offer better interest rates for their customers. His call comes amid reports that banks are planning to increase fees. He was speaking on TVJ Smile Jamaica Tuesday morning.
Jamaica operates in an economy where it's really a extractive economy. So we don't try to double up the pie or we don't try to triple the pie. We always looking at the pie itself to see, okay, this is the pie and this is the share that I want. Instead of looking at the resources, the flour, the dough, the apple, whatever that creates the pie, and said we need more apples. We need more dough, we need more water, we need a bigger oven. So how do we create this? We need more farmers to plant more wheat. We need more farmers to plant more apples. And we take it from a developmental approach. And this is one of the reasons why Jamaica and many other developing countries fail to grow, because we do not understand what to do with resources.
Minister with responsibility for works, Everett Warmington, is expected to speak on the future of the Troy Bridge in Manchester. Residents have highlighted that the bridge is in a deplorable state and poses a significant danger to the commuting public. Speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106, Communication Manager at the National Works Agency, Stephen Shaw, says the country should get a clearer picture on the reconstruction of a Troy Bridge as well as other structures.
We have done quite a bit of work, but I know the Minister with responsibility for work will be making a presentation in Parliament tomorrow. I'm sure that part of his presentation will deal with Troy and some other bridges that are in need of either replacement or some sort of maintenance works. He's expected to give a quite detailed report as it relates to not only Troy, but some others around the country.
It's now time for the Business Minute.
VM Group says it hopes to complete the acquisition of Barbados-based investment firm Republic Funds. CEO of VM, Courtney Campbell, says this deal, which was first announced in 2021, is near to being closed.
We also made significant progress in obtaining regulatory approval to complete the acquisition of Republic Funds Barbados. And we expect to complete this transaction by the end of 2023. Right, Rez? And the acquisition of Republic Funds Barbados is meant to be only a first step in our journey to expand the asset management business in the Eastern Caribbean. It is what we call our beachhead.
Adding Republic Funds to the group's portfolio will give VM Group control of Republic Property Fund, Republic Income Fund, and Republic Capital Growth Fund, all of which are heavily concentrated around asset management. NVIDIA Corporation is close to reaching $1 trillion in market capitalization, making it the first U.S. chip maker to join the $1 trillion club. The gaming and AI chip company, whose shares rose 3.8% in trading before the bell on Tuesday, was valued at $998 billion. AI took center stage after NVIDIA stunned investors with a revenue forecast last week that surpassed analysts' expectations by more than 50%. Wall Street analysts called NVIDIA's forecast unfathomable and cosmological, hiking their price targets in droves. The highest price target valued the company at about $1.6 trillion, on par with Google parent Alphabet. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Halshane Burke.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
Russian officials say they shot down 8 drones and report minor injuries and minor damage in residential areas. Ukraine denies being directly involved. And this is how Russia's president reacted to the attacks.
Kyiv chose the path of intimidation of Russian citizens and attacks on residential buildings. It is a clear sign of terrorist activity. The Moscow air defense system worked satisfactorily. However, there is still work to be done to make it better.
Earlier, a fatal drone attack in Ukraine has left 1 dead and 13 injured. The incident happened in the early hours on Tuesday. It's one of many attacks on the capital this month, where, according to the city's mayor, many have been killed.
Actually, in May, we have a lot of attacks to our city, not just to capital of Ukraine, also in other cities, and a lot of people killed from Russian terrorists. It's terrorism. It's not a war.
And those were the top international stories. I'm Shamela Pullen.
Thanks, Shamela. We head to a quick break. When we come back, Jermaine Brown will have your midday sports report.